moderator for our next panel, who really is legitimately one of my favorite people in crypto. Jillian Godsell. I've known her for a number. Hello, Jillian. How are you?
Hello. I was hoping I could stay out of camera while you said nice things.
I was going to say nice things, but now I see, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I've just changed the whole script. No, Jillian's an author, keynote speaker. You write for a number of publications, including CoinDesk, and also constantly an advocate for women and inclusion in the crypto space. So I thought that you would be a great person to moderate this panel. I'm really glad you're with us today.
Well, thank you very much. I like to say sometimes that blockchain saved my life. And that's not hyperbole. It's actually true. And it continues to do so. So I'm very excited to be here with some amazing women, by the way. I'm not sure that if our third guest has arrived, but they are all three amazing women and two are definitely here. So I can't wait to hear what they're going to talk about and tell us.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to drop off and I'll leave it in your very capable hands. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. Yay, you're right. The women are here. Okay, so I think it's probably just the three of us. This panel is going to be buzzy, right? It's women in the crypto hustle, starting their own projects and making it to the top in leadership. So a lot of ticks there: crypto, projects, entrepreneurial, and making it to the top in leadership. My two guests today are Irina Karagyaur, who is founder of Design B2C, beg your pardon, and head of the metaverse at Unique Network, and Marie Tatibouet, who is a CMO of Gate.io and a digital marketing expert. We may be joined by Crystal Rose Pierce later on. She hasn't arrived yet so far, so I don't know, but in case she does, we'll welcome her when she comes. So Irina and Maria are well-established women in the space. You're very well known. You know, if you Google them, go on, you'll see their names coming up. But before I get into talking about what's important for women and how we can help other women in this space, I don't want to ask more about your backgrounds because people go onto LinkedIn and see all the wonderful things you've done. I want to ask you both, what do you want to see on your career tombstone, your epitaph, if you like? So it's not about being a wife, mother, sister, friend. It's what do you want people to remember you for your work? I'll go first. You're my top here, Irina. What would you like people to remember you for 30 years time, 40 years, 50 years time? Sorry, whatever, on your tombstone when the day comes.
Well, considering that my background is architecture and the woman who inspired me on my journey is Zaha Hadid, I want to build an empire, a real one with a great impact, positive impact in the new creative industry, because I do believe that crypto is here to change our lives, to change the way we live, to change the economy, give power to creators, basically to every one of us, because we are building the new creative economy. And this is my big goal. It should be bigger than life, because, you know, it should be something that you wake up every day and you think, you know, this is that big thing that I want to do for, and it has to be for the good of everybody, because I believe that, you know, when every single person on planet Earth and maybe beyond, who knows, feels well, wakes up, you know, in a great mood, having everything necessary in life, then we're living in a great world.
Good answer. It's a bit long to fit in your tombstone. You'll have to narrow it down. But I like your vaulting ambition. Marie, what would you like on your career tombstone?
Well, I really agree with Irina. You really have to have ambitions that are larger than life. And in that way, you know, I think entering in the crypto space, I really became a lot more interested in finance, not only so as to give access to women for funding, but also just because I think the whole world deserves a full financial overhaul. So on my epitaph, I would like to have finance provocateur, changing up, provoking change in the finance space. I would also like to have blockchain educator, because I dedicate a lot of my time educating everyone about blockchain technology, and to kind of give a nod to my previous experience, digital trend setter, because I've always been, you know, really focusing on not only educating, not only changing things, but also using my marketing skill set to be able to, you know, make these kind of ideas go viral.
Exciting. And welcome, Crystal Rose. We are delighted to have you here on the panel. I'm so glad you can make it. I've just been introducing my two guests quite briefly, and then I asked them what would they like on their crypto tombstone? Like, what do they want when, and I was saying not like your personal tombstone, but your career. But what will you've done in work that may have made a mark in the world? So Crystal Rose Pierce, you are very well known again, also founder and CEO of MakeSense Labs, and of course founder of SHIOS back in the day, and the better half, shall we say, of Brock, the other half. So question for you then. I've just sprung it on you, so I apologize. But if you were to say, what would you like to be remembered for your work legacy?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm connecting from Puerto Rico, where we have a little bit of internet island time. If it were my actual tombstone, I was going to say HODL, just because now that I've thought about it, I've never thought about it before. That would be a good one. So mark that for me. You know, in terms of legacy, though, I think if we can, I'd like to say Crystal Rose Pierce is remembered as a unicorn, helping everybody rise. You know, unicorns have been known in the startup world as a company with a valuation of $1 billion or more in a very short time frame, like 5 years or less. And today we see all types of unicorns. It could mean a country whose GDP is rising because they are innovating and adding innovation and technology and blockchain into their policy. And so if I can do anything, it would be to help nations, to help individuals, to find that bridge between technology and sovereignty and be able to rise. Wow.
I'll tell you, they are three fantastic answers, and I would bet good money that we wouldn't get better answers from men. They're big, dreamlike, and covering architecture, housing, finance, entrepreneurship, and unicorns. I love that unicorns can be anything. It's not just a company. I love that. Okay, and HODL. HODL is good too. So this panel is about, before you arrived, Crystal, as you were saying, it's women in the crypto hustle, starting their own projects and making it to the top in leadership. Now, access to funds is crucial for a woman to be successful, especially in an entrepreneurial sense. Now, and as we may be aware, during the pandemic, the percentage of women accessing VC funds fell from a small 2.9% to an even tinier 2.3%. So what advice would you give to women looking to raise funds for projects? And can you perhaps recommend some female-friendly VCs? Maybe Marie, I'll start with you, since you mentioned finance. What can women do to access funds? Where should they go?
Sure. To add on to some of the numbers, I have also come across some really interesting data that shows that the numbers are better, but still really small. The average VC deal in 2020 for all female founded companies was about $6.8 million, whereas for their male counterparts, for all male teams, it was 18.7. So that's really a huge discrepancy there. However, we did see with PitchBook reports that some of the deals that went to female founders in February of this year was a total of 9.2 million. So in that respect, we seem to be going up. I think we have to keep on evolving the world for entrepreneurs, and this has to come from a technical and a social aspect. I think we have to see more VC funds looking to invest specifically in women. And one of the great programs that I have seen has been Spark by Sequoia, which is a really interesting program that provides a kind of no strings attached grant to female founders. So I think we need more of that. And we just need to take a look at the bigger picture that recognizes tech adoption. And
Crystal Rose, when you set up SHIOS, it was again with a group of other females in the EOS blockchain to see what you can be. That whole thing about if you can't see role models. And that was a very important path that you took. Do you actually invest yourself now, or do you advise investors? And what advice would you give to women approaching, again, trying to break that barrier for women to get access to funds?
Yeah, I am an investor. I run a fund called Unicorn Ventures, and with Brock, it's our family office, but we have invested in equity rounds in all types of blockchain companies and beyond, things that are changing supply chain, through blockchain, anything that's taking the technology layer and applying it to betterment of the world through innovation. Shios was originally created, we put the she in EOS. It was EOS block producer. We were a mining company that ended up continuing on to mine other chains. We had 10 women in the space. We were entrepreneurs, investors, influencers, and we came together to prove that you could mine a chain without being extractive, meaning we took the money that we earned from the mining rewards and we put it back into scholarships for women in technology. We wanted to make sure that we were helping to educate more women. It was more for us, it was helping to change the gender ratio in the space and get women excited and coming in. And so the only investment advice I've really given in that time is just for people to get interested in Bitcoin. I try not to talk too much about the other coins because it's an ever-growing landscape, ever-changing landscape. And if you don't understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, I don't think you should traverse into the other spaces. Bitcoin is our godfather or godmother. He, she, or they created it in a decentralized way. So it is a very unique project. Nothing else like it, no CEO. And really it will help you truly grasp the essence of the entire space. So I never say how much to invest. It's however much you're willing to lose, really. And you know, and one of the things now, which is just recently coming up as a major phenomenon, in my opinion, is DeFi. If you do have crypto investments and you're starting to find yourself getting a lot of gains and returns, but you want to safely put some of that into a nest egg, you can stabilize it with a Tether or a USD type stable coin, and you can stake it in DeFi and earn instant, you know, very consistent returns on it because you are helping to provide lending to the decentralized market. So, you know, DeFi is really incredible and it provides sort of a savings account. It's like our crypto savings account. And so I think that, you know, that's more of a safe investment. If you're looking at kind of keeping your US dollar equivalent, you can just put it there, park it, let it earn a return for you. And there are so many platforms out there. Just, you know, kind of educate yourself on the ones that are the most credible.
So access to money, either funds or just through your savings. I mean, obviously in ordinary banks, you get no income. Irina,
yeah, I mean, you can park your USD or your euros or your government currency, whatever that is, without turning it into Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything. You can just turn it into a stable coin.
And that's not so worrisome. Irina, you are a founder yourself as well. I want to ask you a different question. I mentioned before, like Crystal Rose had, you know, the Shios, so that people can, you know, what you can see, what you can be. And so people say sometimes women aren't earning money because they can't see role models. And then I heard a comment recently, which is kind of reasonable, but also a bit unsettling. Actually, I have no idea how I feel about this. I'm going to ask you. Is that sometimes people they say that women build lifestyle businesses because they understand the balance of work and play and family and stuff, rather than men who build, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies. Is that stereotypical? Is that right? Or I don't know. I genuinely don't know how to feel about that statement. So do you think women build lifestyle businesses, or they're told that they're meant to build lifestyle businesses?
Well, I mean, on a superficial level, it does look like, right, that women go more into something more practical or women orientated. So women build businesses for other women. It's either in the beauty industry or, you know, something that is kind of more associated with femininity. But on the other hand, like when I joined Polkadot ecosystem and blockchain space, I actually discovered women developers, programmers. And if you dive into finance, like during the lockdown, I actually joined the Boston group of women who all work in corporate or have their own companies, and they had meetups about finance and about DeFi. And actually through that group, I learned about DeFi and investment strategies. And really, I think that women who work in corporate, they're just not so exposed. They're not someone you come across on a daily basis, and media doesn't give enough coverage outside of sort of, you know, specific dedicated conferences. So we look at the corporate world or finance world, it's just such a close, like gated or nearly gated community, if I may even say so. But the more we have sort of YouTube, open shows, meetups, for everybody to learn. For women who maybe want to access investment, but they don't even know where to start, I think DeFi is a great opportunity because it's just so easy now. You can download the app and you can invest in stable coins, or you can join communities like blockchain communities where you get to know people and you get to know founders of projects, so you know exactly where you're investing because you're investing in teams. And often you find women who you want to invest in. And I'm personally now building a female community in Polkadot because it does seem like we are just ambassadors. So now we decided to be Polkadot kings and queens get more sort of exposure on social. And we want to find also women developers specifically to learn their stories, to learn their personal stories, to hear how they came to the space and what motivated them. Because I think that we just should talk more about it and do more meetups and open to other women who don't have financial tech background.
I mean, the irony is that in most families, women control the finances. And then you look at war-torn places like, for example, in Afghanistan, you worry about women, how can they control their finances because they're not allowed to even walk in the street without a male accompanying them. So how important is financial freedom for women? Who'd like to run off with that one?
I might take that one off. I do think, and that's why I think cryptocurrency is so important. I read a few articles about how actually cryptocurrency is booming in Afghanistan because some people are thinking about becoming refugees. And so that's a great way for them to bring their wealth with them. Some people don't have access to bank accounts. Now that certainly applies to women even more so than men. But, in Afghanistan, I think it applies to the general rural population anyways. And so cryptocurrency is allowing them to be able to, be banked in a way. And finally, I think from what I have seen, they're also, trading and making money from cryptocurrency in the ways that a lot of other people have around the world through yield farming and trading and investing and stuff like that. We have definitely seen on our exchange an increase in the amount of users from Afghanistan. And I really think that Afghanistan is actually the perfect example. Another example we might have seen earlier this year was in Turkey after the lira absolutely crashed in the month of March. I think it was the 17th or 18th of March. And I think it's really, financial freedom is incredibly important because having access to funds is what's going to determine whether your project is going to be successful or not. And in a lot of countries, people, and in particular women, don't have access to the funds. And I really think that cryptocurrency is helping pave the way to be able to provide financial integrity to everyone across the world.
It's true. And Crystal Rose, you often do videos about explaining about Bitcoin. And I think it's aimed at women a lot of the time. Am I right? I mean, obviously it's the general population, but are you very keen on helping women become financially independent?
Absolutely. I like to do lunches and dinners in person now. I find when I do videos, they're outdated quickly because of the price change. And it's easier also to onboard people in public. It's interesting because recently I did one with about 30 women and everyone downloaded a wallet, depending on what country you're from. Everyone started to get into their first crypto. Generally, I will keep a hot wallet just to send Bitcoin. Sometimes people trade cash or Venmo because it's easier. And at the end, they said, we should just do this like Tupperware party style. Like you go to someone's house, everybody gets a little bit of Bitcoin, and it's really serious. Women are great community builders. Women historically are the ones that build the tribe and, bring all of the people together in celebration. And I think that by word of mouth, we can do a tremendous amount. So, just helping your girlfriends put together a wallet, and it's important, but also many of them won't come out and say, I actually don't know how to do this. I have found that women who are very wealthy, who have investments in stocks, or women who are just getting started, even in college, like every single person on the spectrum has trouble admitting that they don't really understand crypto and they don't really understand what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain. That's a really difficult question. So I think making it accessible for anybody that doesn't understand it, I think if you can explain it to your mom or your grandmother or even your 10-year-old, like any age range, start to explain it, start to explain why, because very soon we're going to see Bitcoin emerge into the retail market. On September 7th, El Salvador's Bitcoin law goes into effect, which means that the first country in our world has Bitcoin as legal tender. Every business in El Salvador is required to accept Bitcoin, just like US dollars, which is their only other legal tender. That is the tipping point of adoption, when a country's entire financial system actually has Bitcoin in the rails. And I think at PayPal as well, we have 25 million merchants able to accept PayPal or accept Bitcoin on PayPal. We're going to see it really emerge into this space. So getting everybody involved now. There was a time when people had no idea how to use the email or the internet. They had to have their secretaries print out email for them. And so
I remember that.
Right? Not to be embarrassed about not understanding it. It is, nobody will have to understand the technology layer, just like nobody understands SMTP is what powers email. There will just be a point at which it's natural. And so I think it's great to just encourage everyone, to download a wallet, play around a little bit. I think NFTs are probably the thing that are going to get the most people in, just because it's kind of fun.
I think that's a great idea, because Andreas Antonopoulos, obviously famous for having those events and then giving people little bits of Bitcoin. But you're right, because people need to know how to download a wallet and how to change the money, because it is quite scary pushing the button, going, oh, is that going to the right place? Because if you get it wrong, you'd lose it. And it's just that fear of, and all those digits. So I think it's a super idea. And of course, increasingly, as you say, people won't even be aware, as technology moves on, our private keys and our public keys, there'll be simpler ways of using it. So it's like, like maybe with Wax, how you can download a Wax wallet with your socials, and it's much easier that way. And I think that's the way to mass adoption. So Irina, I think you might be aware of this already. The social studies, studies from Credit Suisse, Nordy, and McKinsey all point to the fact that adding a woman to the board of a business in a decision-making role adds between 20 and 30% profit overnight. And it's just this weird thing. It's like this magic sauce that you add. And we know instinctively why it does, because diversity is so much better. And, if you're all pale, stale, and male, you'll make the same mistakes, the same decisions. You won't have any innovation. But when those facts are out there, Irina, do you have any idea why women are not being placed in those positions? That's
I think it's kind of the way the world used to work. And women need to be more proactive, because there were studies showing that women just don't know how to ask for executive positions or for promotions or for salary raise. We are just not educated in that way, because men, even if you join like the new workplace, you see that men get to network and cooperate in a specific manner, because they used to, hunt together, go to war together, so they have their language. And women had different responsibilities and different activities. And really and truly, just we have been active in an executive position for not such a long time and had different responsibilities. So we are very good at socializing, building families, building social circles around families. But we're also good at tasks, work tasks, and also communication and building networking groups and being, I would say, more flexible and less competitive. So there is no sometimes some of the executives say testosterone spills even on the panel discussion, because men get into into debates quite often, very kind of emotional, and women tend to be more, softer in a way. Yeah. So that helps. That's more diplomatic. That's more cooperative. And in general, we are, say, peaceful, right? So we're not pro-war. We're pro-peace most of the time. So that just helps generally creating different level of relations.
And I guess you're right that women tend to be more collaborative and looking at ways of solving problems in a combined fashion. Maria, you mentioned earlier education. You want that on your tombstone as well. Your crypto career tombstone. You know the expression, when you educate a woman, you educate the family and the village. It's been proven against studies, big data backing this up. When women are educated, they raise their family, they raise their children, and they can contribute back to the community. How are we going to help educate women faster?
Right. So there is no subtle answer here. Depriving a child of education is a violation of basic human rights. And so, unfortunately, this is not that enforced in developing or underdeveloped countries, which is extremely ironic, since you would think that an underdeveloped country would try and push more of its people to receive a high quality education and improve the country in the long term, right? But I really think we have to try and change our outlook and treat the deprivation of education as a crime, which I really think that it is. And so the governments around the world must enforce it as such. And that's really the only way that I see that we can change this injustice. And it might seem very extreme, but I really think that we have to look at it that way, especially given the fact that education is often, it's often done by the victors who are trying to brainwash part of their population and stuff like that. To a certain degree, any education of history or many other things is partly brainwashing when you're doing it with children. So it is really important to make sure it's a more collaborative and more essential part of the human experience.
And I guess education is more fluid these days. I mean, previously education was seen as you went to your different schools and then you went to your university and you got your degree, maybe you got a further degree, whatever. But increasingly, obviously, and this lockdown has taught us that during the pandemic, remote learning can be just as valid. You can get your accreditation and you can upskill yourself, which is great if you're living in a part of the world where you don't have access to a university. Again, how important do we feel that online studies are going to be going forward? Will they overtake the old-fashioned red brick universities?
I'm sure that they will to a certain degree, but not everybody has access to a strong enough internet connection to be able to benefit from this education as well. And that's something that's really important. Being able to provide everyone with access to internet is really important. I think you can see with what Facebook has done in India, for example. Now, maybe, they have kind of pushed internet, and I think it benefits everyone. Of course, they push it primarily to push their own products, but I do think they're benefiting the rest of the Indian population as well to a certain extent.
Mm. And then also more studies, again, with the lockdown impacted people differently. Women tended to be impacted more severely because if they were at home, they suddenly had 3 jobs. They were maybe teaching their young children, homeschooling. They were doing the housework. Again, studies show that women do more than men, and try to do their work at the same time. And Citibank predicts that the lockdown will result in 44 million redundancies. Now, I know we're coming out of it. Well, I think we are. I hope we are. But 31 million were expected to be women. So out of the 44 million, 31 were women. So how can we protect women who are losing their jobs perhaps because of the pandemic? I mean, for example, Crystal Rose, you said you're in Puerto Rico. What is it like there? Is the lockdown still there? People being prevented from working? Are women being impacted there?
The lockdown has been as volatile as Bitcoin. Every day there is, that's exaggerating every day, but every week or so, there's at least a different executive order that's been submitted. So for business owners, it's extremely difficult because you have a big challenge keeping in compliance. For residents, it's also challenging because there's a lot of fear and people stay in. I think recently it's lifted up. These past few months in the summer have been really nice. And actually our tourism is up tremendously. All of our hotels have been booked out. People have been coming. So I don't feel like we have the same amount of pressure, but absolutely there's been an economic shift. A lot of the small business owners, small restaurant owners have gone completely out of business. Many people are finding themselves with unemployment and the benefits being more than what they could make if they were employed, or an equal amount. So they're not looking to get employed in the immediate. But definitely if we were going to rearrange the Maslow's hierarchy of need, we would put internet connection on the bottom. We are getting improved internet services in Puerto Rico. We have both fiber optic and satellite internet coming in, which is giving access to all of the people who are looking for different types of work to find some sort of either online education so that they can move up their vocational skills and get a better job, or find some sort of digital work. So it's actually been really interesting to see. It's definitely a struggle. And I run a nonprofit foundation I started here 4 years ago with my partner Brock Pierce, called the Integro Foundation. And we flow through philanthropy in whatever is needed at the time. In 2020, we donated $1 million of medical masks, and we donated food to families that we purchased from farmers. We started to provide what was necessary. And this year we're finding that actually what children need especially is more stimulation with outdoor activities. Sponsored the Olympic sailing team, and getting access to tablets and access to computers being equally important. So there's sort of a balance. But I'm hoping that we see the light that comes out of this shift. And if one of the benefits is that everyone has learned about how to control their own finances, or how to learn.
We're just losing Crystal Rose there. She did say at the very start of this program that her connection's not great. We'll click in with you again in a bit. I'd say, Crystal Rose, you might not have. Oh, you're back. Are you back again? We might just pause it for a moment. And I want to look now at leadership, because we've mentioned a few times what you can see, you can be, and do women lead in a different way? I've asked this question in different ways, but Marie, do women lead in a different way? Is that a real thing? And do we need to lean in, or can we lead in a more empathetic, collaborative fashion? What is leadership all about?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think Irina touched upon this earlier. I do think that women leaders are by nature more empathetic. And I think it actually works out in the long run. I've read a lot of books, feminist books, when I was in college, and talking about how to move things along for women. And I do think one of the things is also we have to reimagine what is the perfect worker, who is the perfect worker, and what are their attributes, and who is the perfect leader, and what are their attributes. And I do feel like we are moving towards a more empathetic and collaborative leadership style for a lot of different companies. The kind of social factor is really coming in and becoming more and more important. So, and I think usually women leaders excel at this because they are usually more interested in collaboration than competitiveness. So yeah, I think usually most of your team members will know what to do and what is expected of them if you work at a competent company and you've hired competent people, and they don't really need to be guided or micromanaged. And I think women are great at the guiding part. So yeah, of course, every industry is different. Some industries, I think, require more collaboration, and some industries require more competitiveness. But yeah, I think there's definitely room for us to upgrade what the perfect leader and what the perfect workers look like.
It might be, Crystal Rose, you know how they say a clever leader will hire people that are more intelligent and more talented than themselves. So if leaders started hiring women, they might end up with much better results. Tell me, what is your style of leadership, Crystal Rose? You're on mute still, sorry. Yeah. What's your style?
Just as I was talking about our internet in Puerto Rico, I love to hire other leaders because I like people to be self-managing. I believe in autonomy. I find that there are a lot of flaws with the traditional hierarchical system. And even though I've functioned as a CEO several times, and I sit on the board as a chairman, and I live within this structure, I see the future potential of better governance And so I have a company now that I've started with with the CEO of MakeSense Labs. Actually, I've moved into the chairman position, and it's a subsidiary company to MakeSense Labs. We're building out a DAO because we want to create something that is truly owned by all of the people that build it. And so we're starting ground up with that structure, giving more autonomy, giving more freedom, less bottlenecks, and a voting system. So you have more equality in the process. And I think that when people are empowered with decision making, they will surprise you. And when they're empowered with giving the freedom to be creative, you will get better ideas than you would have done by yourself. So your company will thrive, or your idea or your project, whatever you're working on. It's always better when you have a sort of mutual respect and allow people to come into the creative level with you.
Wow, Irina, would you agree with that?
Well, firstly, I would say that I'm very fortunate, because men with whom I worked and who were, the presidents of the company and our current CEO are true leaders, because they lead by example. They motivate you. They make you learn more from them, and then they are able to build teams where you can learn. So it's really not I wouldn't put it down to gender. I would put it down to personality, because there are really great people who have a great purpose, and B, sense of how to build the right team where everybody complements each other, and where there's no competition but rather cooperation, and where everybody finds his place and talent, and that way you all work for the common goal. And especially in like fast-paced environments and a space like blockchain, you really find a lot of brilliant people with outstanding skills, outstanding capacity of learning, inventing, creating, and that's very difficult space to lead, because you have to be on top of your game as a CEO of the company every single day, because you need to motivate people who are extremely intelligent and drive them to show results. So it's a fantastic space. That's why I love blockchain so much, because there's so much cooperation, leadership, brilliance, both from men and from women, because it really also depends on the industry. And when you're in this kind of innovative industry, you really find different types of leaders, because they understand that the world is changing, and to change the world, you need to change your leadership strategy and grow as a personality.
That's brilliant. Are we just finishing up now? Are we?
Yeah, unfortunately, ladies, that is it's time.
One quick question for one word answers.
Go for it.
One word answers. We said about this, the crypto hustle. Can you tell me who your favorite crypto woman is? Irina.
Oh.
Marie,
so many women.
Kathy Wood, full stop. No questions there. It's so inspiring to see someone who's so competent, so respected, and I think it's just so brilliant. Absolutely.
Great. Crystal Rose, do you have a one-word answer for me?
Meltem. Just keep it at Meltem. Look her up. You can find her by first name.
Okay, perfect. And Irina, did you think of anybody? Sorry for you on the spot like that.
Well, I would say Jutta Steiner, the CEO of Parity.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, ladies. You have talked great sense, have great ideas. We've got Tupperware and unicorns and provocateurs and architects. It's been a fascinating panel. You are amazing women, and I hope to meet you all again very soon. Thank you indeed.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.